I'm delighted to welcome Pauline Irving, who is an emotional freedom technique practitioner and links very much with energy and Chinese medicine. So welcome, Pauline.
Hi, Elaine, and thank you very much for inviting me today.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
So EFT in particular, emotional freedom technique, is something that has been known about for quite a few years now, and I'm surprised the number of people who don't actually use it. They may hear about it, but when I start showing them, you know, the different places to tap and so on, they go, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? So can you just give us a bit of background to emotional freedom technique, what it is, how it's used, what the benefits are?
Yes, by all means. So for me, emotional freedom technique is based on Chinese medicine, and everyone will say that it's based on Chinese medicine, but I don't think everyone has an understanding of what that means. So the Chinese medicine is vast, but the part that goes with EFT is about the meridians. So the meridians, there's 14 meridians that are used. Not all of them in EFT, but meridians are pathways of energy, and the energy is called qi in Chinese medicine. So if you can imagine standing upright and putting your hands up, the front of the body is yin, and all the meridians run upwards, and the back of the body, all the meridians run downwards, and that is yang. So you've got the yin and yang. So in Chinese medicine, there are 7 internal emotions that create stagnation in that qi, and they are kidney meridian. And when I talk about kidney, it's not the organ, as in Western medicine, it's the pathway. So kidney is fear, liver is anger, heart is joy. So it sounds a bit strange that joy is an internal emotion that can create disease. Spleen is worry and pensiveness. So, and lung is sadness. And then you have shock. So if we ever have a shock or fright, it can cause the key energy to become stagnant. So when you see somebody that is very much well balanced, you know, they don't have any aches and pains, they do not suffer with headaches, they're totally focused and their mind is relaxed, their qi is flowing pretty well, smoothly. When the qi is stagnant, it eventually creates pain and discomfort in the body. And if that's not looked after, it can accumulate and become worse. And it's interesting because I think of my shiatsu master that taught me many years ago, and he said, you know, all these hurts that we receive, injuries, emotional pain, he said they all settle in the body, and eventually all the lumps and bumps in our body are the condensed thoughts. And that was many years ago, and I thought that is very true for me from a Chinese medicine point of view. Yeah, so the emotions can cause internal disease.
That makes perfect sense to me, and with the people that I support through cancer and beyond, I find again and again and again it's the emotional side of things that people don't get to grips with. They can be taken as much treatment if they choose that path, or the, you know, the best nutrition and the best exercise and, you know, all the rest of it. They could be thinking positively and so on and so forth, but if they've not dealt with emotional trauma, that's where the problems occur. And sure as eggs are eggs, wherever the cancer is, it's because they haven't dealt with that emotion. So I've just made some notes. You were saying about kidney is fear. I've got a gentleman at the moment who's convinced he's got a certain condition, and it's in the kidney area where his pain is. And he says to me, when his mind is occupied, his pain goes away. So that shows, you know, that just shows how powerful our thoughts and our emotions are, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I think fear, and this is only from my perspective, but I think the emotion of fear is one that runs through a lot. You know, you can have fear of flying, as they say, fear of water, and it's the fear that does, in Chinese medicine, weaken the kidney, and the kidney you want to have strong, you know. So your gentleman, by working with the EFT, that would be excellent, you know. So you do the EFT with people, Elaine?
No, I don't. I'm not a practitioner. I use it myself.
Oh, okay.
I used it. I was introduced to it when I had stage 4 cancer many years ago, and I used it to overcome my fear of the MRI and the scanning and all that malarkey that went on. And I use it. I still use it. If ever I have a wobbly moment, I do the tapping. So could you just run us through how you got to become so interested and passionate about the EFT and the Chinese medicine? What was your kind of early life like before that?
Well, my early life was a trauma. I had an accident. I can sort of look back now and think, well, was that meant to happen? As they say, things in life are meant to happen. Goodness knows why. But I had an accident that created physical and emotional hurt. It was not a good time in my life. It was way back in 1972. So yeah, it was very unpleasant. However, the positives was a friend of mine gave me a book. Now, I'd have to reread this book to know everything again, but it must have done something. It was called The Third Eye by Lobsang Rampa, and it introduced me to Eastern philosophy and especially meditation. So in just reading his books, I went off and was reading things about meditation. My physio, that was excellent. She was very intuitive, very sensitive, and we talked about yoga. And interestingly enough, my parents, for a birthday, because they knew I kept on about yoga, but there were no classes, they gave me, if you can believe it, an LP by Lynn Marshall, who was a yoga teacher, and she eventually did a series of yoga on television. So I had her book and I had her LP, and so I used to start doing yoga. And for me, that encompassed the body and mind. So from that accident, for myself, I thought it's not separated, it's together. You know, the reason I'm feeling emotional and I've got this pain, meditation did seem to calm me down and help me. So that was the beginning of body and mind. And then I moved to Australia, and it was an ideal time to change careers. So I studied and practiced massage, and I did every modality going. And I also received it myself, so that when I started my business, I was able to refer people to modalities that might suit them better. And then in 1990, I'd been watching a Chinese doctor on television, and he was doing a bit like tapping. And it was called point percussion, and it was for cerebral palsy children. You know, people, children, sorry if that's the wrong term, but it was children that suffered with cerebral palsy. And I got in touch with him. And he said, Pauline, before you do anything like this, you've got to study Chinese medicine. So I studied Chinese medicine, and then I studied shiatsu, and shiatsu was just pure joy to give and to learn, because although you touched the body, you were still working with the meridians and the acupressure points. And also in our bodies, we have reflexes. So you could touch someone's stomach, do a hara, what they called hara diagnosis, and you could tell which meridians were out of source, you know, if they were excessive or if they were deficient, and you actually work with the ones that were deficient. But that was shiatsu. But that gave me great understanding of how emotions affect the body. And so in Australia, I was in Australia from, goodness me, 1984 to 2003. And when I first started in complementary therapies, it was an extremely exciting time, because other than my teacher, there was my teacher, myself, and two other people in the whole of North Queensland. And it was just wonderful to be able to go out and give talks and to allow people to make up their mind whether they wanted a complementary therapy. And I also met a lot of doctors through giving talks. I would make sure if there was a doctor's meeting that I could go. And so it was not only good for my practice, but it was good for them to know what was out there. And I had about 3 or 4 doctors that were very supportive. I worked in hospitals. I worked in a private hospital with people with mental health issues. And I also gave a treatment to the consultants. So they were very open to it, you know, and it was just great. And then I came back in, say, the beginning of 2003, and that's when I studied EFT. Yeah.
So when you were helping with the consultants and giving talks, that was about Chinese medicine and shiatsu and the acupressure.
Yes, yes, because I didn't know EFT then, but you know, had I known, but it didn't come in to my area, into my thinking, I suppose, until I came back to England, because where I moved to, I wasn't going to have a private room, so I wasn't able to set up business. And so I actually worked in a different environment altogether. But I continued to try and promote, because I also did ear acupuncture, 5-pin ear acupuncture for drug and alcohol, and relaxation and things like that. So I tried to promote that sort of therapy where I worked.
Wonderful. Yeah. So EFT, can you just run us through what the points are for? Obviously, people who are visual will see this on the video, but bearing in mind that not everybody will be watching this, some people will be listening. So if you go through the points, if you can describe what you're doing.
Okay, so if I say the points, so the first one is here, it's called the karate point. Okay, now they're all on meridians. And this one is the small intestine, for anybody that wants to know. You don't have to know this, so I might just do the points.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the side of the hand, like a
side of the hand, and I tap it with all 4 of them. So it's here that we start off with, and this is where we say a statement. And the statement, which we can do later, gets to the target issue. And you only have to say it once. You know, once is enough. Okay, so when you've done the setup, you then have like a reminder phrase. So say, maybe I do a brief one. Let's do a presentation.
Go
Okay.
for it. Let's go for it.
Okay, even though I have this presentation and I'm feeling nervous because there's so much I want to say, I totally love and accept myself. So I'm doing a very brief presentation. So the point at the top of the head, I might just say this presentation. And I tap about 7 times. Then I come to the eyebrow. Okay, and I say this presentation. Go to the side of the eye, this presentation. And the eye, this presentation.
So that's underneath the eye now, almost just above the cheekbone, isn't it?
Yeah, I do it just under the cheekbone. Yeah. It's all stomach meridian there, so that's fine. And then on the cleft of the under the nose, this presentation. On the chin, this presentation. And then this one, can you say, Elaine?
Yes, I can. Yes, yeah. You do the collarbone.
You find the collarbone and then you go down, and I've got a dip. And that's, you tap in there, this presentation. And then the next one, I don't know if you're going to see, under the arm.
That's the one that I describe as where the bra is for a lady.
Yeah, sort of in the
line,
middle of the bra, and it's about 3 inches down from the armpit. And you say this presentation. Now that's just to show you the points. Obviously, with that presentation, you would tap on the nerves, and you also would scan your body and think, where do I feel this? Mm-hmm. And with nerves, it's very often in the stomach. It may be, oh, wow, I've got butterflies in the stomach. So that can become part of the tapping. Okay, maybe later on we can do it in full so that you get more of the idea. But you also, when you do the target, before that, you have to, it helps if you have a subjective unit of distress, which is 0 to 10. So 0 is low, 10 is high. And a person might say, oh, it's a 7. Now, the idea of that number is so that when we do another round, you can test whether that's come down at all. It's really important to test, you know, each round. You can do 2 or 3 rounds all at once, as long as you test it at the end.
I think that's a good point, Pauline, because a lot of people, they think they're not making progress, but actually when they reflect back, they've come a long way, but because it may be gradual, they don't appreciate it. They don't see it at the time, do they?
No. And also I have had clients that when we've done it, and I said, you know, if we go back, because you can go back, if it's a complex matter, you might go back in like a movie. Just want you to close your eyes and see that incident again, and just let me know where you are. And they may say, oh, it's fine, but it was never that bad. And so they'll instantly have forgotten. Whereas if you've written the number down, you can see it. The other thing with the statement is a person needs to acknowledge. So even though I have this presentation and I'm nervous, I'm acknowledging it. And the affirmation, I love and accept myself, means that I am okay. The fact that it's a presentation, the fact that I'm nervous, that's okay. I'm all right. You know, we can do this. And so I think the affirmation is really important one, because whatever's going on in our life, if we don't acknowledge something, then that gets stuffed down more and more. You know, so that was a very quick EFT demonstration, but the points, do you want me to run through them again?
The points, yes, for people, particularly people who are listening to this, because what I'm going to invite you to do, Pauline, is I run a health group now on a Friday. I have a private platform, so we're talking on Zoom now, but I have a private platform where I've got a video, private video platform where nobody can spy on us or tell us off, or, you know, censor us or anything like that. So I'm using that, and we're gradually growing. I think we had about 14 people on the call last week. So
Excellent.
I'm going to invite you in a couple of weeks to do a full EFT round, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you ever so much.
If you just do the points for us now again, and explain where they are. So the karate chop, isn't there?
So the karate chop,
Mm-hmm.
if you were going to break a brick.
Yes.
Karate chop, okay. Top of the head, inner eyebrow, corner of the eye. So it's not the temple, it's the corner of the eye, under the eye. And that can be quite sensitive. So under the eye, under the nose, under the chin, under the lip, on the chin. Come down on the collarbone, and it's in a dip. Okay. And then under the arm, on a woman, on the bra strap, it's right in the middle. And for a man, it's about 3 inches down.
And what's so special about those particular points?
Well, the small intestine point, now you don't have to know this to do EFT, but the small intestine is often indecision, do I or don't I? So by doing that, it sort of neutralizes that. Okay. The top of the head is the governing vessel, and that point brings the meridians together. Top of the head, okay. And then the bladder, this is the bladder point, which goes with the kidney, and that emotion, the negative emotion, is fear. Okay. The gallbladder here is indecision.
And that's on the outside of the eye, near the temple.
Yes, yeah. There are other emotions that go with it. There's a whole list of them. I'll try and think of them as I go along, but they're the main ones. And then the stomach, which is together with the spleen meridian, is worry, and that pensiveness. Okay. Governing vessel again here, and then the central meridian, which runs down the front of us, and it's vulnerability, I would say, because the central meridian can leave us wide open, because it literally runs from the pubic bone up the middle. Okay. And so that can leave us wide open to the rest of the world. Okay. So what I do every morning, sorry, I'm just tell you this while I think about it, is zip it up. Donna Eden, energy medicine, zip it up and be safe. Okay. So when you tap on all of these, it balances out. So here again is the kidney, and that's fear.
So you're pointing to the collarbone area.
Yeah. And then under the arm is the spleen, which is worry and pensiveness, you know. Yeah. So as I say, you don't have to know the Chinese medicine for EFT to work, because I just found it when I have done workshops that it is easier to explain, like I did at the beginning, that part of Chinese medicine, because in all the years I've done EFT, I've never heard my clients say it's weird, it's strange, it's funny looking. To me, it's a therapy that flows beautifully. If you think we can just use our fingertips to tap, you know, and we can either say it verbally, or we could visualize something, or even in a meeting, you could use the points on the fingers. Nobody needs to know.
I was going to ask you about that, because when I was taught many years ago now, so the karate chop and then tapping just on the finger,
yes,
the side of the nail, because you can do that. I've done that before. I've been in a queue and started to get agitated. So I've put my hands behind my back and I've started tapping, so nobody knows what I'm doing.
Or I tell people just to give them a squeeze. You know, just give it a squeeze, just more on one side than the other. But I think, you know, you can use the fingers. I had a client that, bless her, when she was in a meeting, before the meeting, she could feel her stomach going and literally wanted to go to the toilet. And she said, when I'm in the meeting, she said, I'm terrified. And so straight away you're hearing terrified, fear, anxious. And, you know, we worked on all of those. And she, you know, in particular for herself, I said, when you go in the meeting, just very, you know, you can have your hands on the table underneath, just go do the points. Just on one hand is enough. And just hold, because you can hold the point. You can hold points, Elaine. You can just hold, you know, you could sit there and hold them like this, you know, and it does calm. And thinking about calming, I would like to bring in, if I may, about the amygdala.
Yes, absolutely, very important and understated.
Well, it's, I don't know when it sort of first came to realization, I'm not sure, but the amygdala is, as I say, I'm not a brain surgeon, so I would try my best, but the amygdala is in part of the brain, and it's not very big, but when we're in danger, the amygdala goes on alert, boom, you know, danger, fight, flight, or freeze. Everything races, you know, heart race, heart begins to race, blood pressure goes up, the blood disappears from the front of our brain, everything happens because the amygdala is on alert. Now, I like Nick Orton's way of describing it. You know, back in the hunting and gathering days, when they were out foraging for food, and there was a beast, an animal came out, the amygdala had every right to be alert, because if they were wise, they either froze so that the animal would walk past, or perhaps if they could, they would run. But what's happening nowadays, there is so much in our society that creates anxiety or fear. So, you know, it may be work pressures. Last year it's COVID, this year it's still COVID. There's a lot of fear and anxiety around in the last couple of years. Now, for many people, that amygdala will be responding the whole time. So no one feels completely relaxed. And so I believe we have to work harder to look after ourselves, because I feel healing takes place when we are relaxed. You know, it takes place when we're relaxed. So the more relaxed we can be, I think the better. Have you had experiences with that, Elaine?
Yes,
you know,
again,
with that fight, flight.
yeah, again, with the people that I support through cancer, I'm fortunately now, I've been doing this for so many years, I've got people coming to me to avoid cancer, so I've helped people get through, extend their life or improve the quality of their life, you know, whatever, and then sometimes they come to me too little too late, but their spouses or their family then reconnect with me, so, and then that's to help them to overcome the fear that they may get it. So the fear is in every single part of every single person, and it just needs a trigger, doesn't it, to set it off. Yeah. And as you say, in the sleep as well, sleep is so important. You know, we are healing when we're sleeping, but if we go to bed and we've been watching, you know, horror movies or anything like that, so our body is not really resting properly. So the EFT solution to me is useful for tiny children, can be taught this, older people, everybody in between, and the fear thing can be controlled. We can control it, we can calm ourselves down, we can manage it, but we have to acknowledge it. So the acknowledgement part of anything that we're dealing with, I think, is very important. But a lot of the time society now encourages to put things in boxes and leave them alone, and of course the box then, if something in the box is not healthy, it just gets worse, doesn't it?
I can share a personal thing with you if you like. Last year during COVID, I think we'd come out of a lockdown, so people were out walking, and I'm not blaming these people, it's completely my fault, but I was walking in a park and the paths aren't very wide, so I walked down this path and there were probably about 10 people coming towards me, but they were all together. And I thought, and you know, you do it very quickly, it's not even a second. I thought, rather than walk through the middle of them, because they didn't seem to be stopping, I went down a path amongst trees. And as I went down a path, I tripped on a tree root. And I literally went down on both knees, both elbows. And when I talk about shock, as in the beginning, that was shock to my body. And I probably didn't stay there a long time, but it felt a long time. I was worried, fearful I'd broken my collarbone or my elbows or something. Anyway, I got up and went home, iced everything. But what it did, because I had to wear splints, and I still have to wear a splint at the moment, what it did, it took me back to my first accident. Not too emotional, but because in my accident I had to wear splints on both arms, and back in those days they were very thick plastic, they weren't very pleasant, but instantly it took me back there. So EFT has been overworked. I have used that a lot, because whether there was a connection, my mind connected it. And so somewhere in my body, there's still a leftover of that accident I had way back, you know. And so it teaches me again that we once we find something we like, whether it's meditation, EFT, anything that clears the energy, it's good to do. It's good Absolutely. To do, because that stops it. Yeah.
And as you say, the cells have memory, don't they? everything that happens to us is stored in there
Oh,
somewhere or another.
yeah. Well, I think Deepak Chopra wrote a book about that, and the other person was Candice Pert.
Mm-hmm.
Did she write about the emotions in the cells, molecules?
Yes, Molecules of Emotion. Yes, that was
Oh,
her famous
yeah.
book. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, famous. So I think also the reading other people's work helps us all, you know. So very good. Yeah.
Excellent. So the overall benefits, would you say, if you were to sort of summarize, what are the benefits of EFT?
Well, the benefits is non-invasive EFT. It integrates with anything. So if someone is having cancer treatment, you know, chemotherapy or anything like that, EFT is very safe. So it goes well with other medications. I would never stop anyone taking medication. I would never suggest that. It is easy to learn. I think being specific is helpful. You've got to be, if you can, especially in complex things. You can do it anywhere and you can do it anytime. So you could be flying off to somewhere in the middle of the night and you can do your tapping, you know. It's very discreet. It moves, I mean, you know, the main things is that it moves that stagnation in the body that we talked about, the key energy, and it's calming the amygdala. I think, yeah, children can use it. So you know, I don't work with young children, but I'm very happy to teach parents that have got children, because it's important that the parents use EFT themselves to clear their own energy, and then they can you know, they could have a tapping party around the table and and get the children to do it. Because for me, a positive is I do tapping every morning, but I don't necessarily do a setup statement. I will just do all the points 2 or 3 times before I do something else. So I think that's a really good positive. So children could do it before they went to school. They could do it when they come home from school. If a child says to mummy about what happened at school and it wasn't very pleasant, mum can do tapping with them. Anyone can use it. I think the main thing I say to clients, if you want me to help you, I need to know that you're committed to using it, because it is a self-help technique and it will help if you use it. You know, it's yeah, so I think if that's the treatment someone wants to use, then they need to use it. And what happens, and in one way it's a positive, what happens, a client may say, oh, I haven't used it for a while because I've been fine. However, if they can continue to use it, even just doing the points, they will keep fine. Because I think every day we receive knocks, you know, we might hear the news and something will, you know, you feel upset because something on the news, or you feel upset or frustrated. That's the liver. You know, the frustration can lead to anger. So we listen to the news and we can feel frustrated because we can't do anything.
I've fixed that one. I fixed that one years ago. I never listen to the news. I don't watch mainstream news. Don't buy newspapers. Haven't done for over 25 years.
Well done.
I don't have that one. There's because it's all manipulated and it's fake news and goodness knows what, and it's all there to make us scared. So
yes,
yeah, that's
I do listen to the news, not all the time, but I don't have newspapers, but I do listen. And things come up on your smartphone too.
Yes.
But yes, you're quite right. You don't have to listen and you don't have to look at it. So well done. And
we all have choices, don't we? And so many people think they have to do things, they have to do this, they have to do that. No, nobody has to do anything.
No, I think it's great that we can do that. So well done for you.
Wonderful. So how do people get hold of you, Pauline, if people are interested in you teaching them how to use this wonderful self-help
well, my website is Down to Earth, 2 being the figure 2, down to earth wellbeing.com, and that's got all my that's got my telephone number, and there's WhatsApp connection. If they go onto WhatsApp or Skype, it just automatically comes through. Messenger, I've got Facebook. That people are very welcome to message me from Facebook.
And what's your Facebook? How do they contact you on Facebook? What's your heading title?
Well, it is actually emotional freedom technique and energy medicine, but to shorten it, they can put the @ EFT down to E.
Okay.
They can just put that in.
Okay, or search. Can we search your name?
If you put evidently yes. If you put in Pauline Irving, I think my website normally comes up, and on the website is my Facebook connection.
Wonderful. And of course, people can find you in my group as well, the Perfect Health Wellness Club.
That's been an interesting group. Yes. I've been following.
We've had to make it private because we ended up getting trolls, because I've as you know, I'm sure I'm very opinionated on what's been going on in the world, and I've my Facebook account has been shadowed, gaslighted, you know, whatever you want to call it. Oh my
goodness.
Yeah, I've had some difficult times. So I've had to make the group private, which is a shame, and it's not growing now unless people put their friends in. We are getting still, you know, a little trickle of new members, but we're just under 4,000 members. But we used to get a lot of people coming. Oh, the cat's coming here. We used to have you know, quite a steady flow of new members, but of course now being private, nobody sees it unless, you know, they're invited to it. Right, okay, the cat's arrived. The cat needs feeding, so this is live.
Well, thank you very much for that. I hope people have found it interesting.
I certainly have, and understand it. I didn't realise the strong link. I was aware of it, but I've gotten, I guess, the Chinese medicine angle of it, and the explanation you gave of the yin and the yang, the front of the body, the back of the body. It's all very interesting. And as you say, you know, when we read people's work, it all pulls together, doesn't it? We never, nothing is ever wasted. We learn something new every day. So hopefully listeners have learned today, as I have. Thank you, Pauline.
Yeah, thank you ever so much. And I will see you on your site.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay.